Hi there, my name's Matt, and I've been playing Skyrim now for quite a few years. I've dabbled in using mods to make the game more entertaining, and I don't think I ever finished the main quest when I originally got it. But I keep coming back to the idea of being able to tell a story through a character and really get into the mind of that character and try and kind of create that character as I'm playing. And for me, a lot of these kind of open world games really invite that, but I sometimes lose that desire to be the character and focus more on learning skills and killing things and finding fresh shiny things and then getting bored in a dialogue. And this time I don't really want to do that. I've decided that alongside the Cathra casts, which will continue because I've invested so much time in Cathra, and because Cathra lives in the world of ESO as well, I've decided that I would like to try and play with creating a character and starting a new story, much in the same way that I did with Cathra, but instead of streaming, recording, because one of the things that I noticed when I'm streaming is the quality of the image is really poor whenever there's a fight or anything like that. And I think a lot of that is the bandwidth that I'm streaming on. I use Sky, and the box from which I get my internet provision from is really far down the road, so I'm like a very far point. I've thought about investing in Virgin, and we might be on the verge of that happening. But I thought it would be nice for anyone following me or anyone interested in storytelling in a video game to just kind of follow me along in the process of doing this. Now, usually I have a few things in front of me when I'm starting to create a character. And for me, it can be a really long, drawn-out process. That's exciting, really, really engaging. Playing Dungeons and Dragons kind of invests in it a lot of time. And what I find is I really like only creating part of the character when I'm about to begin a game. That might be just something down to a race and a name, or maybe a little bit of a story that is tantalizing enough to infer quite a lot about the character, but leave a lot of room for me to play around, or the games master or dungeon master, whoever's in charge of the game that I'm playing. So I decided that in these videos I would keep them really short for me. And I looked at other websites like Gopher, who I really love, and he seems to have his are about 25 to 30 minutes long. And I thought, 25 minutes is kind of the time it takes me to watch a little anime program, and it's just about the right amount of time. So I thought I'd make these little snippets of creating the story for a new character in Skyrim, and then just talk through the process of me creating this character and just going from when I decide to stop and when I kind of carry on adding, and when I get a great idea and try and understand where that idea's come from. And I don't think I'm doing this to say this is how you should do it, because everyone's character creation will be different. But I think I'm doing it as if to say this is the way I do it, and maybe some reflection for me about why I do it that way. So what I decided to do for Skyrim this time is to choose a character from Hammerfell. And obviously the reason behind that is because those of you that probably love the Elder Scrolls like me will know that allegedly this is the next setting for the next Elder Scrolls game. Here we go, there's a picture here that kind of shows it pretty clearly. Okay, obviously not their work, it's some fan like me's work. And this is that famous kind of rollover that we got where people started to work out where it could be from. So I thought, and I guess this is a start, right? I thought it would be really good to make a Red God character, and I knew they'd come from Hammerfell, descended from Hammerfell, in a way to kind of really know the lore of these people and to try and understand the history of these people before the game comes out in 2020 something. And that means that unlike when I bought Skyrim, I would have a better understanding of the story behind these people and their story. And I think with Skyrim, I got so lost in this incredible open world and enjoyed it, but I was always kind of missing something with regards to the people and the lore. I would listen to maybe the first 5 or 6 quests and start to piece together the lore behind them, and then I would get really entertained by maybe a spell or a dragon would pop up, or go to this dungeon. I think, heck yeah, I want to do a dungeon. I don't want to listen to people waffle on anymore. And so I think I'm going to try just something different this time, and that is I'm going to try and have some background knowledge before I play and see if that improves the gameplay for Elder Scrolls 6 when it comes out, or if it has a negative effect because I'm focusing too much on the lore, or I don't know. It's just something I'm very interested in. But for the purposes of this little video now, and we're a third of the way through already, pretty much, I thought it would be great to just build up that character. And it's something I'm quite excited about, and that's important too, because I've often played like Elder Scrolls Online and become deeply unexcited, or and Skyrim and lost that kind of vavavoom that I was getting early on. And it can be a lot of reasons. It can be my work, it can be juggling too many things in my head, it can be coming on with the wrong attitude, it can be you want to do a quest on your own, but you know your friends invite you to something else. I don't know. There's lots and lots of various reasons why I started to switch off a little bit. And maybe it's just I don't have the time in the evenings as much as I used to, so I'm looking for some creative output. So the way I thought about creating my character, and I doubt we'll get into Skyrim at all this evening, in fact I pretty much know we won't, is making the backstory behind this character a little bit before we begin. And it will be extremely random the way that I do it. What I have done is I've opened up several tabs that I think will help me in the way. And if you've got any other ideas that you think, you know, Matt, this really helps me, or this is how I do it, I'd be really interested to know. And whether in ESO especially, how you do your role play, whether you stay in character, how do you do that? And if you're playing Skyrim, how do you maintain character? Is it something that you don't do? And maybe we'll look at what we mean by maintain character later on. However, there are several tabs that I have found really useful that I'm going to share with you, and none of them are mine. I will probably provide a link in this video for other people to find them too. But one is this one that I came across, tamriel.org, and I'll talk about this in a moment as a name generator. Then there's this cute little timeline made by Isriana, which we'll look at in a moment. And then there's information about Hammerfell and the Red Guard people, so we'll switch them over actually. And then there's a really high definition kind of map of Hammerfell. I don't know how correct this is, but I looked at another map and some of the names have literally been transferred over, and it's really pretty to look at, so I'm going to use that. And then there's just some images. I don't really need any of these images at all today, but they kind of give me some inspiration of the land in which my character may have grown up in, if that's how I want to do it. So the first thing I thought we would do is generate a name, and this little name generator is super. So you can see that you can send an in-game goal to, is it Jadalia, if they're on PC, or Thick Chicks Rock on PS4. I think I'll certainly send them a nod to say thank you very much, I really like this. Maybe something to game gold. But you can see that what you do here is you choose your race and then the name, and possibly the surname comes up from it. It says from Skyrim. I don't know whether that means they're lifting titles and names from Skyrim to support you, or whether, as we'll find out, it refers to locations in Skyrim, and you can do that. But if we see here, I can choose the Red Guard, which is the race that I said I wanted to choose, and I can choose to be male or female. Now, recently I've played an awful lot of females for lots of reasons, but I think this time I'm going to play a male, and I cannot explain why. Yes, I am a male, but that's generally not the reason. In fact, that's generally the reason I tend to not play a male. Is because I am, and so that experience of playing something different is quite an interesting one. But this time I feel like playing a male, and you can see that it randomly generates the name every time you click on it. I really like that first name, by the way, Raig. That looked pretty good. And I had read earlier that Red Guards tend to not have surnames associated with them. It was somewhere in here, so I've remembered that, and I kind of liked that idea. So for now, I think I'm just going to keep clicking on this until I find a name I like. Isleaf. Obviously, I want to choose a name that I can pronounce quite easily. Chark, Enna, Trayvond, Domelen, Trayvond again, Din, Jin, Shamar, Cafiz, Orin, Roderick, Reelan, Thedret. No, I don't like that. Dominant. So we're going round here. Gancol, Kellen, Vosek. I might like Vosek, so I'm gonna write down Vosek for now. I'm just gonna keep going. Philemon. And I'm just going to, and huge apologies if you don't hear this, but I spent a lot of time listening to, no, I don't watch these things. Obviously I do because it's in my timeline, but you get there. So I'm just going to type in Elder Scrolls Ambient music, which I find really gets me in the mood for kind of being creative in this world. If you can't hear this music, I advise you to put it on because it's just so magical. So I'm going to leave that on in the background and then get back and see if that helps me get into the mood of finding my characters' names, which can happen. So we've got Villamon, Colator, Jaganvir. I like Jaganvir as well. No, I don't actually. Jaganvir. Let's see. Kim, Atar, Thirdon, Cade. Cade's back again. Do you know what? I think I'm going with Cade. There's something really powerful and strong in that, and it's that whole kind of one syllable name. And I'll show you these titles. It is associated with Skyrim, so you can either have a profession, Cade the singer, Cade the cowardly, Cade the brave, shaper, sojourner. That works so well because that's my username. Unfeathered. Okay, clever cutting man. That's interesting. Okay, so that was an ESO problem. Let's keep going anyway. Swift, the brave, the cowardly, the sojourner. I'm going to call myself Cade the Sojourner for now, but I'm only ever going to write it down as Cade in Skyrim. I'm just going to show you what this can do anyway. So you can see it says your home basically, or Cade of Shore Stones. Beautiful. Cade of Shore Stone. Let's put it down to Fate. And if I turn up there when I open up ESO for the first time, maybe we'll keep that one. And here's the surnames too, so you can see. But I think I'm going to keep with the idea that I don't have a full name. My full name is just Cade, and that's just because that's a practice in my culture rather than anything else. So I'm now going with Cade, maybe of Shore Stone, and maybe the Sojourner. I should mention that at this time I've got a little book in front of me where I write down these little tidbits of information, and I usually write at the top day 1, but this is obviously day 0 because I haven't started playing yet. and it's a way of just remembering key points about my character, and it's great in terms of making notes when an encounter happens in Skyrim to pull up that next bit of storytelling. Obviously that'd probably be a little bit odd if you were just playing this game on your own and you weren't recording it, but for the sake of narrating to an audience, it's a nice thing to be able to do. And I can take some screenshots of that and put it up on Imager and then throw that up onto the YouTube channel if people are interested. I quite like that element. Okay, and the next part, this isn't really helpful, but it's just really great to see if you're someone who's interested in the lore like me, but maybe doesn't have as much grasp on it as other people do, as this person certainly does. Isriana, crikey, it's fantastic. She or he has, I think it's a she, by the way, has listed here all their characters that they have played and when they are around. So here you've got Scalar 23 years, Braun 27 years, and Laraniel 240 years. I just love this because it gives you this overview of when other events happened, and that can be quite important if you're trying to write a backstory for a character and it's, you know, regarding their heritage or regarding maybe some historical and cultural background that really affects their opinion of other races or other people or other countries. And certainly from the very brief reading that I've had around the Red Gods, that's something my character's going to have to be aware of. So Skyrim is set around here. I mean, this is going up in single digits. I'm guessing this is 201 in the fourth era even. But we can see that prior to that, we've got the Great War, we've got the Oblivion Crisis and the Red Mountain erupting, we've got Morrowind, we've got Daggerfall, and we've got the Arena, and then we've got the Third Era. So you can see that a lot of our time is spent in the Fourth Era here, but that's something I'm going to bear in mind when I'm starting to think of the backstory for this character, which might not happen until, you know, 7 or 8 hours into playing the game that it starts to come out, his backstory. So we've got about 5 minutes left, so let's have a look at the Red Guard and let's have a look a little bit about their past, pretending that I really haven't read any of this at all. That is semi-true because I have only skimmed through. So you can see that in the racial description on Skyrim, I think this is, the Elder Scrolls, yeah. It says, we are naturally talented warriors. We are hardy constitution and resistant to poison. They can call upon adrenaline rush in combat. Now, I'm not really interested in these elements, but I'm interested in naturally talented warrior, because what that means immediately is, do I want to create a character that is different to what is considered norm for a Red Guard, Ian, or do I want to go with the flow? So the opposite of that would be a non-talented warrior, so maybe a mage. And you know, Cathra is a mage already, and I'm really enjoying learning why she only casts magic and not fighting. And the other times I've played Skyrim, I've always done the whole falling back into being roguey-like and basically shooting people with arrows from miles away or stabbing in the back. And I've never played a sword and shield character ever. And generally, hand on heart, this is because I've been a bit too scared. Scared of like being killed, of facing up to an enemy really close. It's just not in my nature at all. So, you know, these games are all about maybe giving you the opportunity to find yourself, but also giving you the opportunity to safely try on new skins and new roles. So I thought about it a little bit earlier. I think I'm going to go for a sword and shield kind of character that is not going to rely on arrows too much. Maybe a spear. I'm going to write that down because that kind of really came into my head. Don't even know if you can do that in Skyrim. Yeah, maybe Maybe that. Maybe he's out to prove himself for some reason. And so this is why he's come to Skyrim, perhaps. Let's keep reading. So red gods hail from the great desert province of Hammerfell. They are descended from a long line of warriors and mystic seers. The red gods are innately more proficient with use of weaponry than any other race. They excel in blade and shield. So there we go. My kind of gut reaction for this character suits a normal red god character. Dark-skinned red gods of Hammerfell seem born to battle. However, their pride and fierce independence of spirit makes them more suitable as scouts or skirmishers, or as free-ranging heroes and adventurers, than as rank and file soldiers. Okay, so I've got some spirit. I'm taking that. Now the problem is, do I suffer from pride? And is that a problem? And fiercely independent. Now if I'm fiercely independent, that means no followers, which is something I've never really done in Skyrim before. I've always picked up Lydia quite early on. I really wanted to try that that mod with the Khajiit, which you're all going to say is this smart, you should know, but it looks so appealing. But we'll think about that. Okay, we'll think about that. Think about the Hound in Game of Thrones. That guy does not want anyone near him, but you know, he falls for Arya in the end, and vice versa. So we're in the 4th era. Hammerfell, the Red God's homeland, has recently survived a massive invasion by the Aldemiri Dominion. Although they were aided by the Imperial Legion, the following peace treaty gave a large chunk of the region to the Elves. Right. The Red Gods refused to accept those terms and succeeded in reclaiming their homeland from the Dominion. Good for them. Which led to the separation of Hammerfell from the Mede Empire as an independent nation. There is now distrust between the Red Guard and the Imperials. Okay, so it's not clear here who the Imperials aided, but I'm guessing the Aldemiri Dominion, because they're stood next to each other a lot in Skyrim. If so, I am very interested in why the Imperial Legion did that, and then also why is it that, apart from pure greed, why is it that the Aldemiri have an interest in Hammerfell? So now I'm interested in my character being interested in the Aldemiri. And he can't be a scout as such, but maybe he has come to find something else. There is clearly then a massive animosity towards the Aldemiri, and then there's also a distrust between the Imperials. So would a Red God man be interested in the Nords, or would he not be interested in anyone and just his people? But obviously Hammerfell is a rich area that people want, so that's interesting in itself. It's interesting to note that the Red Gods pushed back the Elven armies twice before and would have dominated Tamriel if it not for the opposition in Cyrodiil during the Empire's formation. So that does sound like it was them versus the Empire too. Okay, so opposition. They sound very Scottish in terms of this fighting back and winning though, don't they? With the signing of the Seti Treaty, the Aldemiri Dominion completely withdrew from Hammerfell. Now this is in 180, which is only 20 odd years after, before Skyrim. So I think what I might do is go and read this second treaty of Stros Mackay, which sounds as dull as anything, but I wonder if it was 20 years before Skyrim, whether my character as a young child, unless I play an older character, which would be very interesting, whether these characters have read something in the treaty that has caught their attention and that has meant that they're going to Skyrim for a reason. So I didn't really want to stop there. I only just warming up. So what we'll do is we'll read through the end of this section, and then we'll leave these two for next time, which is really frustrating because I didn't want to do that, but I promised short, sharp sections. So we've read this. The history of Hammerfell was filled with war until finally, because of forced cooperation between the forebears and the crowns, the civil war in Hammerfell has ended, which is likely to lead to a prosperous future. Okay, so Skyrim basically comes at a time where there was a civil war but the two tribes, factions, got together to fight against the oppression that came from the Eldamiri Dominion and the Imperials. And that's interesting too, because now my character could choose whether he wants to be from one of these tribes or from one of these factions. There we go. So that's something for me to think about too. So I think that's a good place to end, really. We've got a name. We've got a sliver of an idea of where the character story could come from. And also we've got an idea of why this treaty could be that little thread of a lead for beginning our story if it was written about this time. And also one of the ideas that came out of that discussion was that maybe my character's an older character, you know, a veteran in something, rather than a young character, which I'm always drawn to playing, probably because I'm a bit of a fogey. So I'm going to start closing there, reflecting on what we've got again. So we've got a name, Cade. Maybe he is a Shawner. Maybe he's definitely not of Shorestone. I know that now. He's definitely going to be somewhere from Hammerfell, but we might use that kind of tool of saying of somewhere. We know he's going to be a sword and shield warrior, but we don't know any more than that at the moment. Anyway, that's it. That's about 28 minutes of waffling. Thank you so much for staying, and hopefully we can look at the next stage of planning a character and then take it from there, and hopefully getting to the game and then begin this character's journey. Thank you very much.